How's it going, folks? I'm Marcus.
And I'm Rami.
And this is the podcast. We try and figure out what this podcast is about.
And what we're doing with our life. And in this episode, we chat with a very good mate of mine, Simon Tokumine, who's currently product lead at YouTube, formerly Google Search, and has done a whole bunch of things, including working for the UN, World Bank, and was one of the original climate modelers back in the day. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked to him about VR. We talked to him about Web3 and what he's doing in there on YouTube. And we talked to him everything about the generative AI image work like Stable Diffusion and where that is going and everything in between.
He's clearly thought about a lot of things. He's thought deeply about a number of things, and it all comes out in this podcast. And then I asked the awkward question of, does he think we are living in a virtual world already? If you want to find out more about that, stay tuned.
That's the key question, isn't it?
The key question.
That's the main thing everyone's asking.
Hard hitting. That's why I'm on this podcast, Rami.
You're an
I'm here to ask the hard questions.
You are. You're an alien, aren't you? You're an alien. You're actually an alien.
Hope you enjoy. Good luck.
Cheers. My wife.
Yeah.
Kara.
The wife. It's better if you say the wife.
The wife.
It just sounds more sexist.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit more abrasive.
Yeah.
The wife wakes up, bad neck back thing, right? Progresses during the day, gets worse and worse and worse, has like a really bad
today.
Not very nice. No, 3 days ago. Gets a bit worse. I give her a bit of a massage of that evening. No problem. I've already invoiced her for $1 US to test out a separate product, but details. I digress. Kind of gets to sleep, does it okay, wakes up in the morning feeling better and better and better.
Good.
That was yesterday. She'd scheduled a massage with her mum who's visiting. They go to this massage last night, and massage ruins her. She can't get up from the massage table for 30 minutes.
Oof.
Masseuse has walked away. She walks out, gets into the car, comes home. For the entire night, 2-hour intervals. She can't move. She can't walk.
Spasms
She
or
can't
what? What are we talking here?
So we're petrified. Is there nerve damage? Is there something else? She can't do anything. She's in excruciating pain. And we're like popping the ibuprofens. She can't sleep the entire night. It's upper back type stuff, upper back and neck. Like excruciating. Can't get up. Needs help getting up, moving around the whole thing. Doesn't sleep for like 3 hours last night. We go to urgent care this morning, pumped up full of pills, the whole thing. Like dumb 48 hours of this thing. Turns out hunching over your laptop, ladies and gentlemen, on the couch.
She slipped a disc in her neck.
We haven't tested. We hope it's not sleep. I think it's just muscle spasms, but painful kind of. Yeah. Also, don't drive when you can't turn your head and you've got muscle spasms in your upper back.
You have to get home, and you've just learned how to drive as well. She's not been driving that long, right? I mean, I guess, is it a year now?
Yeah, a year, a little under maybe.
Yeah.
Turns out the back bumper of the Tesla is not that robust.
Oof.
Not
what
robust.
Happened? What happened?
There's a bit of a dint in there, isn't there?
Oh no, Rami.
There's a bit of a dint in there. Yeah,
that probably hurt her neck even more. Did she get rear-ended on the way home?
I said, is that whiplash? No, it was just reversing out of a park. But couldn't turn the head.
I can't do it.
So just kept on reversing.
I can't do it. But that car has like 18 cameras. You don't have to turn your head. It literally puts it on front of you.
Which of the sensors did you... Also, if you can't get off the table, probably don't get in the car and drive.
Rami, I can't do it. You're so you are so patient about the car. I wasn't very
good. I was like, you're agony, you can't get out of the car. I'm having to help her get out of the car. And then she goes, by the way, I've hit the car. And I'm like, what are you doing driving the car? That's
Caro's car now.
Call it.
That's
your
what
problem.
That's
your
Caro's
problem.
car. You can get another Tesla or something or whatever, a Rivian.
Whatever.
And that's Caro's car. That's the way it works.
No.
If you crash it twice, you own it.
She's on the hood.
Yeah.
Simon, welcome to the party. What a great excuse to catch up and see how you're doing.
Yeah. Nice to see you, man. How have you been?
You too, mate. Really well. For everyone listening, let me give you a quick update on who Simon is. Simon and I met in Google, and in fact, Simon interviewed me to get into Google. So Simon is a maker of tech careers. Let's start that off. Amongst other things.
Strong no hire. I don't know.
Yeah, I had to battle against Simon's recommendation to get into the bloody place. Otherwise, it's fine. Otherwise, not a problem. But I was looking through your thing. So, oh my goodness, there was a UN stint. There was a consultant for a World Bank stint. You set up some Japan Center thing. You kicked off JR. You were like a backseat driver and co-founder for something in Japan. You were a CTO at one point and founding team for Kato. Before we get to Google, the last 9.5 years. First question: how much of that was for resume buffing and just looking great on LinkedIn?
I mean, I don't know what you mean. As in, like, is it true? Like,
is it true?
Yeah. Like, well, one thing that is weird about me is that I've got this kind of Asian DNA. So I'm actually like 99.
Yeah,
you know,
I was going to say
like,
that it's actually not technically possible for you to have done all that, given that you're 19. I feel like that, I think some of those must have been internships and things, were they?
Man, seriously, when people are like, so yeah, like, tell us your background, and I start telling people my background, I've reached the age now where it's like, yeah, how far back do you actually want me to go? You know,
which epoch? So you started in 2000. You were a climate change modeler. This is before it was cool. Before anyone was into it, you were a climate change modeler, which I want to talk about. And we met. You were in Google Search. You had been driving the Google app. You've been driving some NBU, Next Billion Users, Google Action. Then you drove Discover, which is like Google's premier ML feed for content. And now you're a product leader, or have been a product leader over at YouTube, doing all sorts of stuff to do with community, creator economy, and perhaps some Web3 stuff. You let us know what we can get into.
Perhaps, yeah.
From end to end, mate. Of all of the stints, what sticks out, other than the most recent, what sticks out as kind of most interesting jobs you've had, the stuff that you look back on fondly?
I mean, they all share a similar quality, basically, right? I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, well, okay, Rami's going to ask me to explain myself, you know,
justify it. What the hell happened?
Yeah, justify it. Yeah, and I think what it is it's me picking something that I can see at the start, and then like finding something within it, and asking myself, well, how does that work? And then kind of going down that, and then like, how does that work? And then going down that, and then how does that work? And then going. So really, that's really all I've been doing since I was a kid, like looking up at the stars, and then going to the planet, and then going to the people, and then on and on and on. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I have led two lives though. There was one life which was kind of pre-computing, pre-computer science degree basically, and the post-computer science degree. And the pre-computer science degree, it was such a great experience. There's no money in it. You can't actually survive. Conservation, like environmental work, like all of that kind of stuff. It's pretty rough out there. And I was doing tech things at the time as well. Like I was doing modeling and stuff like that, which is pretty high paid, within that domain. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you can't really, you get a lot of satisfaction from it. But yeah, it's like, you can't really survive on it. And then there's a post doing my master's and getting my computer science stuff under my belt and stuff like that, where, I mean, it's like not having that financial pressure has definitely just been, well, actually, let me put it another way. There's other financial pressures, but you have the tools to get yourself out of that situation, right? And that's been pretty enjoyable, I would say. Like the dream for me is if I can bring both of those like worlds of mine together, like that would be awesome if I could figure out how to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got some thoughts about how I might, but haven't figured it out yet.
Huh. The previous world being specifically around climate and conservation? You're keen
exactly. Yeah. Awesome. I mean, it was like that stuff that we were doing back then. Like you said, people didn't believe it was real, so you tell people you're working in climate change and they'd be like, what's that? Or
I love what you're saying it, Simon, like everybody believes it's a thing now. Like now we know better. When I don't know, a significant portion of this country's people still think that it's not real. So
it's true. Yeah. It's true. It depends on who you ask, but like a good portion of people do believe it's a thing, at this point. And so
you'll be talking about spherical Earth next. You'll be espousing all this nonsense, I suppose, about how we don't live on a flat plate. Yeah.
Yeah, blowing minds.
Most people believe this. Yeah.
Blowing minds. Yeah, exactly. But that was really good fun. That was modeling. It was using early models of climate change to figure out like what's going to happen if the models turn out to be true, then what?
Yeah.
You know, because like that's kind of a big question that I still don't feel like we know the answer to.
Was your conclusion at the time, she'll be sweet?
No, man, everything is screwed.
Oh, is that right? Even the models on the 386 were telling you as well.
I mean, the models were pretty basic. Essentially, what we tried to do is model biodiversity shifts across sub-Saharan Africa, and this was, the way we did it was pretty amazing at the time, but these days you would say it was pretty naive. Maybe like overfitted might be another way to say it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, no matter how constrained or broad you make the model, certain conditions stop existing under climate change.
Right.
And if you're something that depends on those conditions, you're going to have to adapt, basically. And so that was kind of the outcome. I think there was a paper in Science or a letter in Science or something that came off of it. That like, I don't think I wrote. I think I'm like I'm on the footnote, one of the people that did the actual work, but that they sort of put right at the end,
You may or may never get credit for it somewhere in Science.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what's happened? What happened in YouTube? What is keeping you busy now? What's keeping you excited? YouTube or otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I'm working really like deeply with our new Web3 team. So that's been, I think that was announced that we're working on it, right?
Susan mentioned it somewhere. Yeah.
She mentioned it was news to a lot of people, but yeah, like she mentioned it, and
including your team. Is that what happened?
Like,
I love that.
Well, no, I mean, it was. Let's say it happened at roughly the same time.
Got it.
I love that when you're frantically trying to get some slides together for what this thing is. Yeah, no, we can do this.
But honestly, it was good that it happened. It was good that Susan put that out there. I think it recognized the demand from creators and the interest at least from creators, and also, I mean, you know what it's like when you're trying to get a new product area off the ground, and if nobody talks, none of the execs talk about it, you're kind of screwed,
right?
But if you have support, then you can make things happen. And so
it's a funny thing, the old idea, getting the idea birthed in an org. You either want cover.
It's the same as VC. It's the same as a startup ecosystem. You can have these amazing ideas, but if you don't have the funding and you don't have the connections, then, so it, like, I can moan about it a lot, like the sort of the interplay, but I think the external situation is very similar as well.
I fully subscribe to the large org. Google in particular is an ecosystem within the ecosystem.
Exactly.
I think it's exactly that. So what can you tell us about the Web3 YouTube take?
Precisely nothing at this stage.
Yeah, just wanted to check. Nothing had changed. Just wanted to check. That's cool. No worries.
Yeah, no, I mean, nothing major. I mean, I think the thing that, like, I think probably what I can say is, like we have the great thing about working at Google is that you can use technology to achieve like great product outcomes rather than just implement technology for the sake of it, if that makes sense. So, we can take Web3, for example, or crypto, and instead of, doing what everyone else is doing, we can take a look at its kind of true capabilities. So, one way that I like to look at it is that it's a toolkit for building incentivized systems. That's kind of like an easy way to look at it. And so then as a product person, your question is, well, what do I want to incentivize in my product? Like what is that thing that I want to incentivize? And for search, maybe it's like more curiosity or something like that, or smarter people or something like that. For YouTube, it's the creation of like more better content. That's what we want to incentivize. And so then the question is, okay, so you've got this toolkit that seems to work in some of these domains. How do you map it onto your product to incentivize that outcome? And like unpicking that, I mean, that's the fun bit in a way,
I am interested in your take on we've gone through the very last bit of the cycle, right? On Web3 NFT, in January was peaking, and then we're down 98% volume on OpenSea. The premier NFT platform, and the CFO is abandoning ship, and everyone's basically like, I'm interested in your take here. You're still there. There's still something here from your point of view. The kind of was that just it's clearly not a fad. It was just part of the cycle, part of the trough of disillusionment. Tell me about how you're seeing that broader context of what you're.
I mean, I don't know. Like, do you feel like any real products were made with the technology during the last cycle? You know, like I feel like some things were. There are some things that were explored, right? Like Loot, for example. You know, that NFT project where you could the NFT had exactly, from Dom, right? So it had attributes that you could then in theory, plug into other things where they come alive. So there's some like interesting product concepts in there, but nothing came out. No, I don't feel like there was. One thing that's really interesting is when you look at all of the big tech companies, like, or anything at scale, nothing launched at scale. You know, everything that happened during this cycle was for a pretty small group of insiders, I think. And for speculative purposes, you know, but there was no kind of like core product launched at scale. And so I feel like whatever happened in the market cycle just then, that's interesting to look at. But I feel like we're yet to really like uncover the product gold in the technology. Okay. So in that respect, it doesn't it's not even on my mind.
Do you find it hard? Like there's a lot of bros and nonsense in that space. Unfortunately, a lot of noise is what I would say. You know, a lot of even when you look at like some of the number of bots on Twitter that are specific. As soon as you say NFT or Web3 or anything like that, you get like 15 bot responses on your Twitter feed. Yeah. So as a product person trying to solve a product problem for real people, how much does that noise affect you? Like how do you kind of get through that to the real people?
I mean, so there are. So number one, like that is clearly a thing that needs to be solved for. I would say, like so like a way you might look at it is like if you take a look at like the Google mission, right? Like the new one, the modern one, like whatever the latest one is. But there's a new one which is something like help people in moments that matter. And like help them achieve XYZ, outcome. Like I can't remember off the top of my head. And if you think about the moments that matter piece today, like you're talking about some of those moments that matter, right? The moments where you're like, it's just noise and it's interrupting what you're trying to get done, or you want, maybe you're a user of this stuff and you go to use it, but you get scammed in some way, you know, or maybe like you're a novice user and you're trying to set up your account for the first time and you just don't understand this thing because it's using all of this like weird language that doesn't make any sense to you. These kind of pivotal moments, in a user's journey. These are all things that I think need to be solved.
Sure.
These are big things that need to be solved. And I think there are different ways that we can solve them.
I think Simon, you just said XYZ, which triggered literally today. We saw the launch of NXYZ.
Yes.
Former Google head of ads, Sridhar. Am I thinking of the right person?
Yeah, and Barish.
And Barish. Yeah, Barish. I'm going to give him credit with having invented the Google Assistant. It got pulled out of his hands and brought to a different org, ... He's done amazing stuff in Google, but I'm going to give it to him. Barish is in it, I didn't realize. So they're doing indexing for Web3. They're creating infra.
Looks like it. Looks like they're building high-speed indexes. It also looked like you could kind of tailor like the index itself. I didn't go into like too much detail in the announcement, but it seemed like you could customize it in some way.
I guess the observation and what you're saying, kind of the things that were trying to be solved, and I think Nathaniel from A120 just went and released theirs. I'm trying to remember the name, Lumen Labs. They're all doing the kind of infrastructure layer fixes for someone to come and do the application down the road. I feel like that's where the big investments are right now, right?
There's so much to be done. Like it's a linked list. like it's a linked list in a distributed text. It's not quite like this, but like it's essentially a linked list in a distributed text file. And if you think about modern evented software, where events are firing and they're informing the UI and the experience and all of this, we're just so far away from that, I think, at this stage. There's lots of things that you've got to build. Like even like if you look at the on-chain data for your account that holds NFTs within it, trying to get all of the information, the rich information you see when you open OpenSea and you look at your wallet, that what you see on OpenSea is not actually, a lot of it's not on chain. A lot of it is kind of, MacGyvered in there, where they've sort of figured out, well, okay, this might be built by this company, and so we'll link that with that, and so on. And so there's it's very patchy. Other things like in your wallet, if you've had a wallet or wallets long enough, there's loads of spam in them. You just sort of collect NFTs, and tokens get sent
Dropped
to you
in,
over time. Yeah, kind of dropped in, and that's a problem that needs to be solved as well. So it's like I think when people say it's early still, I don't think that's. I mean, it's clearly not that early, right? But but I think what's true is the technology is still immature, and the programming model the software development model that it could enable is interesting and exciting, and actually in many ways it's close to the web, right? Like if you think about the web, you don't need permission to go and stand up a website. You just make it and put it up there, and you're on the web, And the same is true for all of this blockchain technology as well. You can you stand up a protocol, stand up a dApp, and it's just out there. You don't need to ask permission from Apple or Google or whatever to put it out there. And it's refreshing in that respect. It fills in some of these kind of like the gaps of the web as a platform. So identity, payment, code execution, things like that. So it has all this potential, but yeah, it's so immature as a technology.
I love it, Simon. I love it. You're in deep.
I mean, it's just tech. Yeah.
It's just, it definitely feels like market aside, market froth, dollars, whatever, that's gone. Tide's pulled back, and what's left are people pickaxes building the infra to make and to clean up a lot of these gaps, such that someone in the next cycle comes in and creates the product of choice, be it Coinbase.
Oh, well, hopefully we'll see. We'll see. But I think it's true. I think what's interesting is, go ahead.
No, I don't. There's something I want to reconcile, but I'll ask you to finish your sentence and then, finish your thought, and then I want to think about something else.
Yeah, I think it is interesting how you see, what's interesting. This is a slight aside, but it is interesting to see announcements from companies that aren't moving as fast as the rest of the Web3 ecosystem and where they're coming in.
Name names. Like
well, no,
Walmart?
I mean, take the Neva thing. Yeah, take Walmart or Starbucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? So they would have loved to have shipped in December last year or something.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so you kind of get a sense for the product cycles and how things work on companies.
You can literally measure. It's like a light speedometer. You can measure the speed of organizational execution based on when they're dropping the NFT market. And I think that there was a meme earlier this week around essentially all Web3 engineers are working to make loyalty programs for Starbucks better. That's essentially what's happened right now. That's where they've gotten to. And I'm like, brilliant. That's summarized.
There was such a frenzy about Web3 in December last year, right? There was such a buzz about it. You're right that every single product person was trying to figure out how to put it in their product. So you can see the people, how you can almost see their ship cycle. I love that. One of the things that I'm trying to reconcile here is, so you worked for 30 or 40 years on climate problems, and then you pivoted.
As a 99-year-old.
I don't get the exact dates, but you worked for a long time on figuring out the world's climate problems, and now you find yourself in the Web3 space, which is inherently energy inefficient at this stage of its infancy. You've got well, my perspective is it's not great for the planet, certainly in the current energy usage cycle. So how do you rationalize that yourself, and how do you, how are you at peace with that, or kind of how do you think about it?
So I think one thing that's happened really recently is my interests are very much in the proof of stake model. So the consensus models that don't require consumption of a ton of electricity.
Sure.
And for those chains, their energy usage is, it's on a similar level to the energy that, for example, a Google or an Amazon or a Facebook might consume in their data centers as they're running their products.
Right.
So I think these days there are alternatives. I think if you'd come at this even 6 months ago, I would have said that it's a good discussion point,
Sure.
But at this point, I feel like the only one really left in the room is Bitcoin, and that has a very deep reason for its consensus model, and I don't see it changing, and that's fine. It's not particularly interesting to me,
Sure.
and I don't really see that many. I mean, it's kind of, it's done. It is what it is, if that makes sense.
It's baked.
You can't sort of build on it. It's baked. You can't build on it.
Yeah.
And Simon, this is coming a couple of weeks after the merge, right?
The
great
merge.
Ethereum merge, which knocked off 99.9% of the energy use.
Yeah, the merge. But I mean, Ethereum was pretty late to the game.
Right.
There's lots of other chains were proof of stake before Ethereum got to it. So.
Right.
But still, it's still the most used, right? Isn't Ethereum the most used proof of stake currency?
Yeah, it is at this point. Yeah, it is at this point.
Yeah.
So that's how I sleep at night. But it is. I mean, it's. I'm glad they pulled it off.
Right. It did feel like a docking moment. Like everyone was holding their breath as though these things aren't deterministic, which freaked me out a little bit. I'm like, well, there's going to be a lot more wiped off if it doesn't pull up. There are many other topics I want to chat about before we move off Web3, unless there's something else you need to get off your chest on Web3 in general. Any predictions on any company or application that you're seeing around, however nascent, that you think are going to hit it big?
Hit it big.
Just the caliber here, just so you feel the pressure of getting this right. In February, Rami called when I asked Rami this question, he said OpenSea would be like the next Amazon of it has
I still stand by it.
We still okay, maybe.
Also, Coinbase is the next Google. Is the Web3 Google? I'm standing by it.
Okay, great. You did. We have some amazing predictions on this podcast, so I want you to feel the weight of those insightful.
Yeah. Oh, so okay. So here's this. I don't know how well this will go down, but I think one of the things that I love the Web3 startup ecosystem. I love all the small companies that are springing up and so on. I think that there is a lot of opportunity at the protocol. Like the way to look at the kind of the opportunity spaces, there are protocols that are put out there. That's a bit like people launching HTML5, like that as a spec, but they'll be the equivalent of that for building a social network, like Lens XYZ or Farcaster or something. And then there are people that are building clients that essentially leverage that underlying protocol. I think there's a lot of really interesting protocol work that's happening right now, where some of these protocols could underpin like the next Twitter or the next whatever it happens to be. So like I would say a focus on the protocols is probably where I'd look, and they're like I personally really like what Farcaster is doing. I think that's pretty awesome. But and the other thing I would say as well is like ultimately success, you still need distribution, right? And
it turns out
you still need distribution for these things. Like you still need distribution to get any two-sided marketplace up and running. And there are only a couple of companies that have the distribution needed the reach needed to really ignite one of these things. And so I just feel like we haven't seen the full potential because the distribution hasn't met the underlying technology promise, if that makes sense.
And there it is. There's the YouTube pitch. In
its
infancy. I like
Instagram is doing amazing things.
Instagram's amazing.
I don't know where you read into that.
Any of the modern content platforms, of which there are 3. Also, so you're not giving me a specific app prediction, but you give me a category. The category is protocols. I like it. I'm into that. I'm into that. Something there is going to take off. Okay. Bunch of other topics. I'm open to what you want to chat about, but we did get Meta's Connect launch this week. I want to dig into that a little bit because I feel like you're one of the first who are doing Quest 2 team meetings and one-on-ones that I knew of a while back. Talk me through VR. Where's your head at? What are you thinking? What should we be looking at?
I mean, I think that Mark is a technology cycle too early. I think Meta is a tech cycle too early.
He's no choice though, right? He might
now
be
he's
a company. Right. Yeah.
Now he's locked in. Right.
Yeah. But I mean, the rate at which people are leaving Meta. I mean,
Big Blue or people.
He's got he doesn't have a choice. It's now. Like, now is the time to act on something, and he's gone for it.
Yeah.
Like, he knows he's early.
Yeah.
He knows he's early. That's why he's laying all these people off and all uber focused on hardware and
He's been flattening expectations, right? He's like he said we are at the disillusionment part of the cycle.
Yeah,
he's
early.
Like
he knows he's early.
Expectations to the lowest possible floor.
They could. What is just for some of the folks? What was announced, Rami, and you kind of skipped through it there. $1,500 headset was announced yesterday. The professional version of the Quest 2 for the metaverse for professionals, right?
Yeah, prosumers, I would say, is what they're angling for, but definitely not the consumer gaming audience. This was for work,
it's for working,
creativity, for collaboration.
Yeah,
it was like Satya from Microsoft came in and talked about Office coming on. They had an Accenture partnership that had they'd sold, I don't know, how was it, 6,000 of them or 600 or something.
Wow.
It was such a productivity future of work focused thing.
Yeah.
There's a Zoom partnership that's ticking in. There's a lot of that. They definitely did the developer gaming bit up front, but it was much more about productivity, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Did you not think that it was like the altitudes were all over the place there because of that? Yeah.
Very.
Like,
at one point, we're talking about that's explicit game that's going to launch tomorrow, and here are feet on my avatar. And now here's all of your productivity suite happening in VR for the future. It was very choppy.
I think the trouble.
Yeah.
I think the feedback they got with the first one was that it was too lofty, though, right? It was like people are like, "But what do you mean? What do you mean?" So I think they were in this hard position where they have to show literally what you can do today, and give examples of what it means to be in the metaverse at work, and paint the broad picture of the future. Like, it's almost an impossible position. Like, to your point, Simon, you're saying they're too early. They're too early because it's really hard to even show. Yeah. To give examples of what it would be without it being, oh, and by the way, that doesn't exist yet, So,
no. I mean, I know you've got to build a future, right? Like, it doesn't happen by itself, and so, like, totally props to Mark for that. Props to Facebook for going in on all of that. That's just incredible to see, and like, that's the power of a founder-led business, right?
That you can just turn it on a dime.
You can just do it, and you've got to respect that. That's amazing.
Yeah. You really do. However early, however botched, whether we buy in the brand, whether it's good that they've got like MZ himself as the face of it, which surely is a questionable kind of PR decision, pivoting the whole company on a $350 billion bet that this is the one we're going to win, and we're going to win this paradigm early. And by the way, setting ourselves up as the white dojo versus Apple's black closed dojo.
I love it. Yeah.
And like, by the way, here are some principles we believe in. Well, like, there's some really.
They have to do that, though. I mean, they're so trust is so bad. I mean, it's just awful, right? I mean, it's such a hard position to come back from, and they can't win. I mean, 5 years from now, Meta is not going to be the metaverse, right? I mean, it can't be, can it? I mean, it's just
the metaverse. I mean, I just love the we are open. I mean, come on. The whole last thing is there are closed things and there are open things. And I've operated in closed things. Yes, you have, Mark. You are the preeminent closed ecosystem. You destroyed the web everywhere, including like everyone who came on since the last 6 years. And there are great open things. And here are the benefits to open. And this time we're going to be open.
Yeah, we want to do it a different way.
We don't have much.
Here's a question for you. Do you think Satya was there thinking, like, surveying his future purchase?
No.
He's just seeing it.
What would he purchase? What would he buy? All of that risk around trust. People don't trust the data. He'd be buying the hardware.
HoloLens 3, yeah.
He'd be buying the hardware. And what was that acquisition? How much did they buy that for? Meta, when they bought the headset.
Oculus,
yeah.
Billion and a billion.
There's no investment there.
No, but think how much they've sunk into it. They've sunk so much into the tech roadmap, and then I don't know. If I was Satya, I'd be being like, "Yeah, you go, Mark.
You do your thing.
Keep putting all your money into tech development. Come back to me in 3 years, and I'll
when you've atrophied even more."
Also, if you're Satya, you're going to be on the exact same stage with Apple come February, and you're going to be doing the exact same thing. You're like, use Microsoft 360 Teams, of course. It's the preeminent system. Yeah, he doesn't need to lock into a hardware ecosystem.
But I think it is true. I think Facebook is at that point, or Meta is at that point, where they've got to keep going, and it may come good. It may come good. I hope it comes good.
What bit of it comes good? Where do they win here?
Yeah, I think that the gaming ecosystem is still it was presented as like a done thing in the Meta Connect video. It's like, of course, gaming is like mature and blah blah blah, and then they had the section on gaming, but gaming is the way into all of this, right? And I feel like the fidelity of the graphics in these systems, the capacity for like massively multiplayer and so on, that should come with increasing bandwidth. I feel like there's so much scope left for gaming that's probably where it's going to come from. Like in many ways, I feel like Fortnite and what Epic is doing is
Population One, Roblox, but you've got like PlayStation VR and Xbox going to have VR. Like where does Meta win in that gaming space? Is it the avatar that's going to go from one to the next? Are they going to sell the avatar clothing?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, so I bought my family in the UK headsets of Amazon.
Me too.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
So we bought them here, and then we bought our families them, right? And so there's literally viral hardware purchases being made with this thing.
Yeah.
And why did I buy them for my family in the UK? Is to kind of play crazy golf with them or something. Like mainly that, actually, right?
Ping pong,
have 11. The kids ping pong, have the kids mess around, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, that's just an example of how like games can drive viral growth. Multiplayer games, especially, can drive viral growth and stuff like that. Like that's one statement. Contrast that with what they've presented, which is the future of work. Like I think about this in the car. Like of all of the things that I would want to, like the beauty about virtual reality is that it can be like an awesome version of reality.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, how do you sell virtual reality? Well, you make the things that everyone loves doing in the real world really awesome in this virtual thing, and then everyone wants to do it. Well, what's the thing that you least want to do in the real world?
Yeah. Get on a Zoom call, get into a fake office. Yeah.
It's got to work.
It's exactly.
Nobody wants to go to fucking work.
We had I presume Jan Eze. Do you, Simon? He's yeah. It was that was his exact comment as well. It's like, if Meta wants me to strap on a headset and go into work, the metaverse is not for me. It's like, I get it. It makes sense. But it's also something super tangible. Like, that's what I was trying to get to with, it's like, for enterprises and things, they're like, well, how can that help our business? They have to be able to see, you have to bridge that gap for them, which is like, you can do the Zoom things with a headset on and it's a little bit better. And you have a virtual desk and it's a little bit better because you have to get them there before you can, I feel like there's like a stepping stone. So, because the big vision is too much to take on at once.
Yeah.
I had a look here. Look, listen to some of these numbers because they're quite impressive. So, Oculus 2, Oculus VR app has been downloaded 21 million times, which is a reasonable number of times to be downloaded. Oh. And they have 300,000 monthly active users using Horizon Worlds. Now, given Facebook has 3 billion MAU, it's a small number to have 300,000 on Horizon Worlds. But 300,000 MAU, that's a number. It's you know what? That's probably 5x more than I thought it would be if you asked me to guess.
Horizon World, It's not what's the other one that has 28 DAO? What was that other one that everyone's shellacking?
I don't know.
You guys know what I'm talking about? There's the other place that's just trying to build Second City.
Oh, a second. It's like six people in there.
Yeah, literally.
Like, I've been there. I've done the whole Horizon Worlds thing, and it's cool. It's also weird and awkward, but like,
it stinks.
There's 300,000 people in there. That's nuts.
How many are they selling every month? Are they selling 300,000 of them a month? And it's just people like trying it.
It's just everyone trying it once. This is shit.
How many of them are Meta employees is the other thing.
And
Meta
bots.
Contractors.
It's all the Web3 bots. They're all on Horizon Worlds. Yeah.
It's Elon's bots straight on there.
When someone says Mao, like always, that's what it is. When someone says Mao, that's what it is.
Yeah. One time try. It's not retention. He says, he's like, show me the cohort analysis. Show me the cohort.
Show me your returning users.
What was the most impressive or exciting thing that you saw there?
Legs? Or me? You mean, or Marcus? Okay.
He doesn't care about me, Simon. We've been talking way too long for him to care about anything.
Yeah. I mean, I continue to think the hardware advances are awesome.
Yeah.
I think they're just amazing. Like the amount of time and care and industrial design that's being poured into those things. I mean, that it's great seeing those things being created. You know, they're like sort of works of art, you know?
Yeah.
And then all the supply chain has got to come together to make it all happen. Like, that stuff is hard to do because it's also done to a clock, you know, as well. It's not like people like us in software who are a little bit slack and you can kind of just
hard.
Hardware is really hard. Like that, that is very impressive.
Were you disappointed that the resolution is the same as Quest 2? Just a little bit.
Did the resolution's better on the Pro, right? What did you?
Exactly the same screen.
Really?
You've got pancake optics. You've got like effective field of view that changes because it's closer. The screen resolution,
I'm sure they had
LCD resolution.
I'm sure they had a stat on there, or if they didn't, then they tricked me into thinking that it was a sharper screen.
It's all effectiveness. So they've got like focal view kind of changes because of the distance. It's mostly the optics with a combination of like contrast and so on. But the actual screen
surprising.
resolution.
That's surprising because on the Quest 2, it's really hard to read text, right?
Exactly.
And if it's being pitched as a workplace device, then I would have expected them to improve on that. So yeah, that's interesting.
Which is exactly the message. Like a lot of people were saying, I think it's going to be sharper because of some optics, but it's not actual resolution sharpness. And they've got some foveated rendering and so on, so you can kind of improve res in one area and just where your eye tracks and whatever. But particularly on path through, exactly. If you're going to do any sort of, you're not reading a book through path through, and you're definitely not reading it direct. So I can't. Yeah, there were some letdowns in the hardware. I wasn't the leap I was hoping for. Let alone.
Are you going to do it? You're going to do the 1500, Rami?
No, I want to see the 3. I want to see what the 3 looks like. I want to see
we
what the 3 looks like first.
We went around the room today. No one's going to buy it.
No one's.
Everyone had it queued up when they heard about it.
We all said I was like, I'm definitely going to do it when it comes out. I'm definitely going to do it. And
Same. We'll see what the 3 looks like. But the prosumer story, well, they knew it, right? They did the same round the room surveys, and they've gone, we need to shift this to prosumer and businesses and creatives, and that's what they did. They had the whole chat, except when they had Boz at the beginning talking to us about the amazing new studio they bought. And
I think it is
sweatband.
I think that, the sweat cups. Yeah. I think it is. What is interesting is like, the hardware is beautiful and it's incredible, but it also shows that they're like boxed in a little bit and they don't have the ecosystem. So no one knows what Apple's going to do, but I expect they're going to be streaming from the like the M5 or whatever GPU that you've got on your desktop, right? Like to your headset, and they're going to be, and it's going to be this beautiful lightweight screen that is just literally just intercepting a stream from your MacBook Pro or whatever is running.
Stupid resolution. It's going to be exquisite, and it's going to be a locked-in ecosystem. That's what I'm trying to understand what Meta's play is. So what is open when you've got hardware? It can't be hardware play because PlayStation's going to have one, Apple's going to have one, Xbox, everyone's going to have a piece of hardware. So what have you got left? Avatars? Portable avatars? Is that really what they're getting down to? Like, there are many pivots this company could do, but going from a pure social software company to a hardware ecosystem company is not one that's possible without an 80% purge of their people, right? So they've got distribution, and I think one of the smartest things they did was get out of VR, and they said, all you were doing in VR, we're now going to make available on the web and on desktop. So you don't need a headset to see what everyone else is seeing. You're going to share and you're going to stream all the stuff we're seeing straight onto Reels, and they're going to use their distribution surfaces. You better believe they're going to leverage that stuff to get it in your face, no matter where you are on your phones right now. I think that's the single biggest thing they announced yesterday is you're going to see it everywhere. I still don't know what it actually does. What is the thing that they're going to be able to hold on to? Because there's no way they're a hardware company. Like, that can't be the thing. They're not going to become Apple.
It's a good question. I don't know, Marcus. What do you think?
I'm inclined to agree. I think hardware is not going to be the differentiator. I think the interesting thing is they're out front with the hardware, which is, I keep thinking of your point, Simon, that it's like they're too early. And I'm wondering how much of that was Mark thinking there's a moment in time right now where people can envisage working from home. There's a pandemic, everyone's locked inside, everyone was on their devices all the time, and they're hemorrhaging MAU or hemorrhaging, new activations. And they have this hardware that is ahead of everyone. And, I think all the stars align there to make this announcement. And I think that they are out front with their hardware, but they have to immediately catch up with their software. And they're not. They're behind on the software. So I don't trust Meta for being the number one in gaming. I don't trust them being the number one in enterprise. As soon as Microsoft decides to play in that space, as they've done with OneDrive and as they've done with Teams and as they've done with everything, as soon as they decide to play in the enterprise space, they're gonna be the number one to beat. So for enterprise users, so I think it's a bumpy road for Meta, and I honestly 5 years from now I don't know. I think it's super interesting times to see something grow to the size of Facebook and see it in decline, and then to see I don't know. It's such a big company, and to see it really floundering now is kind of it's just very interesting, basically, because I'm not invested in it and I'm not working there. I get to stand back and kind of go, this is really this is a good science project. You know?
The only thing I can think is that hardware affords them the opportunity. You're saying, both of you, I think, was capture some mind share. People can jump on it. They jump on it in order to do X, which creates the network and lock-in effect. And it's the X that I can't work out what it is. Yeah. And all I can think is identity, avatar, stuff that's portable. Because it's not games and game studios. Game studios are like notoriously platform agnostic. You know,
I don't know. When I was saying that too early, I was also thinking about, if you put one on recently, you'll see kind of the same games. You'll see kind of like the same content, and it turns out making content for these things is like really freaking hard. Yeah. Because you've got to build basically a AAA game, you know, and you've got to, and it's just difficult. It's difficult to,
and you've got a limited interaction model. There's limited things you can do with a headset on and holding two paddles, you know.
Without getting incredibly nauseous. It's not just the same games, it's the same modes of games. It's an archery game. It's like a flying with your hands game. They're very specific types of modalities of gaming, right?
Yeah, so I feel like one of the big blockers to this thing, to it working, yes, it's the hardware, but it's really the content. Yet again, this is my general stick, you know. But it's like,
there we go.
Oh no,
it is that.
You know where we are right now. We are in 2003. 3G is launched, and we're looking for the killer app. And the killer app, as it has been since 1970, is adult entertainment. Let's be very clear. It has been then. It was for the internet. It'll be for broadband, and it will be again for VR.
Google brought out what was the Google the cardboard? Remember Google Cardboard? Is that what it was called?
What started. That was Andrew Nautica. Those guys invented. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And the trick to that one was you didn't get nauseous, because by holding your hands to your head, it actually slowed the speed at which you moved your head, so you didn't notice it wasn't perceivable. But a bunch of apps. There was a bunch of. Immediately when I got that, Rami gave me one ages ago when you first joined Google, and immediately I went online, and there was so many dodgy websites that were created just for that. For
VR Pornhub, straight up VR Pornhub.
This seems to be all people are making. I was like, there was the one thing where there was like the whale that would do the plunge, and you were like flying. And I was like, this is cool. What else is there? All porn.
there was Google Earth.
Google Earth, the whale thing, and then like 99,000 porn sites.
Oh, fun times. All right, VR. Anything else on VR in general, other than wait for 3 and wait for Apple?
I mean, I do have one last point to make on it.
Yeah, please.
If you're interested in it. So
that's why we invited you on.
Yeah. Well, you have to be careful what you wish for. So. When I'm saying it's too early as well, I think one of the other things that is really interesting is like you can see the technology that is going to make it work, and it's not the stuff that Meta's solve the content problem, and it's not the stuff that Meta's working on today, actually, right? Like, so you see it in Stable Diffusion, you see it in DALL-E, you see that is the technology. It's just running at one frame every 10 seconds. And it's not cohesive across time. But once you get that to 120 frames a second, and you can be in a dream that you control, however you want to control it, then all of the imperfections of reality, you can place yourself anywhere. And it can be the most, perfect, imperfect, however you want to say it, like representation of reality, that you want. And you can just kind of conjure up environments. And that solves that technology feels like the solution to the content problem that Meta's got. And this is what I meant by them being like a technology cycle behind, because to go from whatever we're at, one frame every 5 seconds, I think is what Stable Diffusion is at right now. and it's super low resolution as well. And, you know, you'd have to get that bigger and all this kind of stuff. But to go from that to that, you're going to need a couple of, you're going to need both the software improvement, so optimizations of the models. And obviously quality has got to be like another dimension as well, but you also need the hardware to improve, or at least just have some form of solution to that. And so like that's clearly the solution. That's clearly what VR is going to be. It's going to be like powered by generative AI. That's what's going to be. There's going to be no more 3D games, or whatever. Anybody working in 3D software or 3D tooling is, I know, Marcus, that you might be involved in that.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's
Just
fine. He's on 2D.
You specifically, Marcus. Yeah,
he's on 2D. It's not an issue. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, but like, but no, I mean seriously, like I feel like if you're working at like if you're building Unity, or if you're building anything like that, I feel like you're looking at the stuff that's coming out of the generative AI world, and you're thinking, shit, you know. And like some of the stuff that's happening there is you can build 3D models that you can then put in a 3D game, and I think people are like, and that's great, and it's assistive, but really the power is going to be when the dreams themselves are running at, you know, like real time frame rates, and that's when you put these things on, and you're just in an AI dream that you can control, and that's when what Mark is talking about on stage actually becomes real.
Yeah,
and that's when
we needed that yesterday, Simon. We needed them to tap you. And I mean,
where were you yesterday, Simon?
Instead of them saying, imagine putting on a headset and having Zoom in front of you. I feel like...
Do you know what I mean? It's so mundane. It's so mundane. It's like, oh man, sound me the
Picture
dream.
yourself in a world
Exactly.
where with a simple headset, a 9-pound headset, you could be on Zoom.
Trapped in a room.
We will accurately render the actual room around you into the headset, so it feels like you're in the actual room
Even
you're
better.
in. Oh,
if you need the
jeez.
toilet,
Okay.
you can't even escape if
Wow.
you need the toilet. If you need the
This is
toilet,
awful.
you just take the room with you to the toilet, so you can't even leave then.
Yeah. Yeah.
sound pretty
In
bad.
hindsight, they could have gone a little more visionary. Yeah.
A little more interesting.
It's all there.
I love the segue, mate. That is my third topic for you. And that picture you just painted about real-time generation based on a dream sequence, and it's just a frame rate processing issue. That's the main thing that's holding us back right now. That
there are a few
blew
other
my
things,
mind and continues to blow my mind. Talk us through what the hell has happened in generative everything in the last, it's a month and a half tops, maybe 2 months. Since DALL-E dropped it, and then everything that's happened since. What is going on?
I don't know. I mean, we have there are chat rooms where people are just dropping in multiple things every day, like new discoveries, new research outputs, you know, new things that people are hacking together using open source, you know, software. It's a great time actually to be interested in that.
Mental. It's on a daily basis, like morning to afternoon. You'll see stuff where there's a leap in the latest AI generation. Meta awkwardly gets in there and goes, "Here's a text to video generator," and everyone goes, "Google does the same." And then you've got a text to 3D generator. It's happening at like a daily clip. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think what's happening is there's been a lot of, there's been obviously, you know, there's been a lot of investment in this area over time, and I think there's just a lot of building upon successive like developments, and it's happening really rapidly. But probably the biggest thing that's happening for us as kind of consumers is the open source releases. So, you know, like DALL-E was great. It happened over the summer. You probably got the early access, and it was awesome to show your friends, but it ran out because it's just this little app with a box in it, you know, and that was it. And you didn't get all of the sort of the ecosystem that open source creates, you know, weird shit. And with Stable Diffusion being launched about a month ago, where, you know, all of a sudden hackers can get at it, you know, and they can do all kinds of like interesting and weird and wonderful things. Like I think that's where you're starting to see just so much momentum from the point of view of people exploring ideas. Like if you ever work with a research team, they're incredible. Like they're amazing teams, but they are not necessarily focused on the things that make for a good experience. Yeah. If that makes sense, or the things that like excite people. They're focused on, you know, academic discovery and scientific discovery. And that thing about building something that's cool to use or fun to use or mind blowing to use that's just not even on their radar, whereas in the open source world, that really is like, that's a big reason why people get involved in this stuff, and you've got people tinkering with it who've got a day job and all this kind of stuff. And so I think that's really where you're seeing, just so much more of the cool stuff come out.
Simon, you're in all the Discord channels, you're doing experiments, you've got your own log of the stuff that's happening. What literally as of today, what's the stuff that's most exciting you in this space? What's happening?
I mean, I like, okay, so the generative video stuff is obviously very interesting. And there are some glimpses of generative video coming out, but I feel like they're still kind of tech demos, if that makes sense. I'm really interested in some of the work that's coming out from folks implementing, is it called like Dream Booth? Was the paper that Google released, and essentially what it lets you do is take something like as long as you take 4 or 5 photos of a single subject, you can then reference that person in the photo and just place them in anything, and you come out perfectly in all of those scenarios. And I find that just such an amazing storytelling. Like, one of the challenges with this technology is stability and being able to have consistent characters over time and to develop, like a narrative, because every new image is like starting from zero. The random seed generator spits out this and you get this like completely random new thing. And using Dream Booth, you can get like kind of character stability across different images, and that just feels like it unlocks like storytelling in a really amazing way.
Movies, full-blown production movies I've been seeing that are generative with narrative, this art style connected. Like, there are actual directors, single person, full-blown productions, end to end.
Yeah, exactly. Like that, like those sort of tools that allow for like consistency over time, that enable narratives. Yeah, and it's not like mind-blowing stuff. It's just like, yes, that means that I can see, see this now. I can see that this is going to be really valuable. Yeah,
unlocking that tooling, it's just getting from one piece to the next. Even the simple stuff like frame interpolation for animation, where you get one scene to the next scene and then let it interpolate. Or I've been seeing some of the VR stuff where you're in your room and you're basically doing your live scanning of your room, and then giving the prompt of what sort of design style you'd like this room to turn into, and it's relatively in real time changing it to a Dali inspired room.
Yeah. I mean, there's also there's lots of kind of interesting stuff happening with just human representation as well. So you probably saw this evolve in Dali, right? Like at the start, I don't even think people were like humans were allowed in the output,
they blurred
but now
them.
they are. Or something like that, and in like hands are still a problem with stable diffusion, but they're getting fixed and stuff like that. So representing the human seems to be like one of the current focuses, and that seems to be improving really rapidly. That's really cool. And by the way, there's, in case you're wondering, yes, there are porn stable diffusion discords. Yes, they exist.
Of course there are.
I wasn't wondering.
Turns out most of the energy is going into that,
so it's
as
fine.
always.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take it there, Simon. Elon Musk says there's 1 in a billion chance that we're actually in base reality already. Where do you fall on the like that we're just reinventing VR and generative AI on top of the existing VR and generative AI ecosystem which we all live? That this is not the real reality. Like, if we're able to. The argument is, right, Elon's argument is, if we're able to create this now, because of, exponential growth in technology and how we, arguably in 200 years from now, the world will be entirely different than it is now in terms of AI and VR. If we can get there in 200 years, what's to say we haven't got there 200 times before this?
Yeah.
I don't think
what do you think of that, Simon?
I mean, I don't think we'd know. I don't know.
That's the point.
I mean, I don't think, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't. I like. It's one of these things where it's like I've still got to go to work and make money, otherwise I can't eat. Like,
so it doesn't matter, man.
I just need a job.
They haven't fixed that.
Rami said it would be a fun podcast, and now I get the existential nonsense.
It's like,
garbage.
Yeah, that's cool. Can I give you my mortgage letter? Just,
just
I mean, it doesn't exist. These numbers are just fake anyway. So would you mind just taking some of your imaginary money
really,
and putting it into my
lying down in my garden, wearing an Oculus headset.
Exactly. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a good thought experiment. And it could be true.
There's no way this is AI creating a universe. They wouldn't have invented Zoom, would they? Like,
well, I think
you do something a bit better.
Imagine the irony of that we're in a virtual world and we've invented Zoom to communicate, and Riverside FM is the best podcasting app.
We love Riverside FM, our would-be sponsor, and we look forward to chatting.
Yeah, we look forward to your future partnership on this podcast. It's amazing.
Yeah, the entire universe is just like it's a sandbox for creation. So that they can just watch a reality. It's like the Truman Show, basically. Yeah. That's what they set up. Yeah.
Bad dead ends all over the place.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it is interesting that the architecture of kind of intelligence and sentience seems to be similar, right? Like the way the brains work and the way that we're making these massive strides in computing recently, that they both they're similar in architecture and they seem to be working out. I think that's interesting. I mean, I don't know whether we're the first. I mean, there are other arguments maybe we are the first, maybe we are the first. If we're not the first, if we're not the first, then where are all the aliens? That's the other argument, right? So I don't know I mean, it's I don't know. It's one of those things where if you let yourself think about it too much, you just won't get out of bed, So
The whole universe is on a turtle's back. We are the aliens, Simon. We are the aliens. That's
sometimes I do think, though, I'm like, is this real or not? There's no way of knowing. But like you say, you can only think about it for 10 seconds because you actually have to go to the toilet, and then you have to go brush your teeth, and you have to have a shower, and then one of the kids is crying. So you don't get to think about it for too long. But in those brief moments, sometimes it's when you're looking at the stars and having a beer, and you're like, I wonder is any of this real? And then real life kicks in and it's real. But
it's the same existential dread when you look up at the universe and go, "This is way too big."
No way that just goes on forever, right?
Yeah. How tiny are you in that whole thing? Come on.
Yeah. Come on.
I do have this or that for you, Simon. This is, I'm sure, being a massive fan of the show, you've heard them all the time, so you're quite familiar with this.
Of course.
Speed round, first thing, top of mind, word association. It's A or B. You just let me know which one you're into the most, right? So I say coffee or tea, you go tea. Don't even think about it, no problem. Yeah? That sort of thing. Okay. Not even have to do a Y, but if you feel like a Y, you can do more. Let's just get warmed up. Android or iOS?
Android.
Okay. Reels or TikTok?
TikTok. Come on.
Obviously.
The vibe. The vibe is so good. Reels has no vibe.
What? Shh. Don't tell Adam he doesn't have a vibe. He's wearing a chain and he's talking so sincere. Anyway, short form or long form video?
Both.
That's not an option.
Controversial.
It's not an option.
I mean,
say long form, Simon, for God's sake, please. In a world of TikTok
shorts.
I know.
They're different. They're just different things. They're different things.
I know they're different.
They're
monetized.
The short form is
Android.
The short form is like an emotional booster. The long form is I want to chill and just learn something or have a laugh or whatever. Yeah.
Did I see he announced that you've monetized shorts now, that you can generate ad revenue from shorts as well? Okay, that makes a difference.
Sure have. Todd representing. Todd's still there fighting the good fight.
Yes,
just awesome. Engineering or product?
Engineering.
Bravo. As a product lead.
Because mainly because I was an engineer in the past, and I feel like I've worked with product people who have never been engineers before, have never even coded anything before. I don't know if that's either of you two, but I always feel that there's a little bit of magic missing,
Yeah, so. Yeah. You need to hold on to the cred, so you need to align with your eng lead. I get it. I hear what you're doing here. VR or AR?
VR, I think.
Oh, controversial. Search or YouTube?
YouTube.
Tesla or Rivian?
Tesla.
Elon or Twitter?
Elon.
You're backing him.
Yeah. I think Twitter. We don't have time for this, but Twitter has just been asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
Like that thing has not changed.
For 15 years.
The emotional feeling I get from TikTok, which is just a bag of content, is completely different from the feeling I get from going on Twitter. Like Twitter, I feel depressed as all heck, pretty much. It just doesn't make me feel good. Even though there are people saying good things on it, there's also like not good things on it too. And they've just done, I'm sure they've done a lot of work, but it hasn't been meaningful, unfortunately.
Discord or breakfast any given day in the morning? You have to choose one. Which one would it be?
Breakfast.
Oh, you don't. I feel like you live on Discord. Every time I check, you drop me a new Discord server. No.
I mean, I have to use Discord, but I hate it. Yeah.
That's a whole
It's a
different.
mess. It's a mess.
It's a whole different point. Final and obviously the most important one: Marcus or Rami?
Can't answer it,
both
Simon.
of you. Having met Marcus, I don't know. I was going to come on and say Rami, like you told me to in the email before the show. But
Yeah, it usually takes. We've only been talking for an hour. It usually takes 2 hours. I would have swung you fully. I would have got you totally over to my side. So yeah, Rami always asks this after an hour.
Just early, right at the beginning. You don't even know who Marcus is, before Marcus has joined. Mate, amazing catching up. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Simon. Great to meet you.
yeah, it was great to chat.